Happy New Year. We are back for an exciting 2021.
Yeah.
2020 is
Hey, don't take
behind
us
us.
backwards, Francis.
2020 is behind us, and we are kicking off this New Year's with an amazing guest who's done some really revolutionary things in wheelchairs. So think about that. Stick with us while I turn over to Catherine, who is the ever, popular, famous, always has a great necklace going during.
I got I have my Etsy necklace
There you
out.
go.
Yeah, I knew we were doing this today, so I was like, okay, got to get my little Etsy necklace out, get a little sparkle going.
There you go. A little sparkle for 2021.
Yeah. Yes. So happy to see everybody. If you're watching live, please comment. Let us know where you're watching from. Please feel free to ask Nate questions along the way. We're very, very excited to have Nate Watkins joining us today from Troy Technologies. Thanks for joining us, Nate.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're really excited to talk to you. I found you, I think, through a woman named Maria Cole, who I connected with through a networking event, and she told me about what you're doing. And I said, wow, we've got to have this guy on our show. So why don't you tell our audience a little bit about your background, who you are, and what you do?
Well, all right. My name's Nate Watkins. I've basically been involved in medical manufacturing and design my whole career. I spent the bulk of my career in a pediatric wheelchair design and manufacturing company. And about 5 years, I branched off and started Troy Technologies. And now we have a line of wheelchairs which is designed to be used in the home, narrow, for narrow doorways and narrow areas. And it's just a way for people to move about their home, people with limited mobility to move around their home in comfort.
Can I jump in real quick just for our audience? What is limited with me? Like, what does that mean? Because, is there like a standard size for a wheelchair and yours are skinnier? Like, kind of, if you don't mind elaborating a little bit more.
The wheelchair market's huge.
Okay.
Some of them are as big as a tank, and of course, there's lots of bells and whistles you can have. But the problem is once you get into your home, particularly an older home with smaller doorways, bathroom doorways, closet doorways, they're only 24 inches wide.
Oh.
And your standard wheelchair will not fit through those openings.
Wow, that's pretty narrow. That's actually really narrow.
It is, right. The older homes.
The older homes, but then also, older buildings and also desks, right? Doesn't this wheelchair, isn't it designed specifically for going under a desk? We'll pull up your website here to show some photos in a minute, but I think let's talk about the design of what you've done and where it fits and why it makes such a difference to have this versus a standard wheelchair.
Well, okay. Standard wheelchairs, as I mentioned, are great, certainly for outdoors. What a lot of our clientele do is they'll have a wheelchair and basically they will, when they're out and about, terrific, they use their standard wheelchair. And then they just leave it in the car and then they come into the home and then they transfer to one of the Troy Technologies chairs. And that allows them to move around their home and get behind a desk. As you say, it's good for use in home and in office because a lot of the situations that exist in a home are the same in your office. You've got, not only do you have smaller doorways, but you have a desk and you have clutter and you got to get around. So it's all about making that transition easier.
I mean, even just looking at, I jumped on your site here. They look almost more like a traditional chair. They look more inviting almost than a traditional big black wheelchair you see at the hospital, right? They look friendly, I want to say.
Style is a factor. You want it to be, not only do you want it to be functional, but you want it to be, we really go for the non-medical look. We want it to look like it's almost like a hybrid between an office chair and a wheelchair.
Yeah. And to me, that's really interesting because I think about the wheelchairs that are available. I can see that this one moves around very easily with the front wheels the way they are.
Right.
The design of it looking like it's a typical office chair. I imagine that it is lighter than a typical wheelchair. Would that be accurate?
Indeed, right. It's only about, the one you're looking at there, it's only about, I think, 34 pounds for that item.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, and that makes such a difference, not just for the person, but for that person's caregivers as well, being able to easily move them around and help them get to where they want to be. And, you know, Francis and I often use our own experiences as illustrations, as stories. I can imagine my dad in one of these really enjoying that in his assisted living, because he could have gotten behind his desk. And he loved being behind his desk. He was an engineer in his life. He had his little yellow lined pads, I forget what they're called, and his pencil and pencil sharpener right there. And he was always, you know, working out things. That would have really been interesting for him to have. So I think that there's a lot of reasons that this is really valuable for people. And it's good for our audience to know that there are options. There's always options.
Right.
But this is something that I personally had not heard of. And
neither have I, until Catherine brought it up to me, and I was like, this is really slick, because I think aesthetics matters now, right? I think it matters that fear factor you can build from seeing something, and you're like, I don't want to sit in that, or I don't want to
absolutely there. And wheelchairs there is a stigma attached to the standard wheelchair where people think, well, you know, I don't need that.
Right.
You know, I'm not that old or whatever, but and it can be a real barrier for people to you know, just admitting to themselves that they are no longer able to function without a piece of medical equipment. So that's why we try to blur the lines. And
I think you've done pretty good. I mean, you've done a great job, because when I look at these, this looks like a chair. Like I kind of don't see the wheels almost. I'm attracted to whether it's the design of the fabric or the material you're using. It looks like I'm walking into an office and I see a desk chair, basically.
Yeah. And let's talk about the idea that a wheelchair doesn't always have to be a permanent fixture in somebody's life. It may be something they need for a period of time. And if you need something for a period of time, this could be also a really great solution for that, just based on the ease of getting around, the lightweight, the ability for it to look like a typical chair.
Right.
I also see employers. This might be something that employers would want to consider as having available for those who are in wheelchairs in their offices.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, like to me, this one, like this chair. I mean, both of these chairs right here that I have up on the screen. You can almost just from the top, from like this area right here, it looks like a desk chair that's just got some bigger wheels than traditional wheels on it, right? I mean,
and you'll notice both of those chairs are available with or without foot plates. A lot of people don't want or need the foot plates. They just want to, you know, you can sit there and just sort of scoot along with your feet,
right?
Or use the wheels to propel yourself. A lot of people just kind of grab whatever's around them and pull themselves through doorways
right.
The whole idea is that it's designed to be versatile enough to fit the person's needs.
Yeah, and let's talk about that. How you kind of are you constantly kind of looking at feedback or design changes or stuff like that to improve the wheelchairs?
Absolutely, yeah. And it's conversations with the end users that drive the development. People request, the foot plates that I just mentioned are a good example. A lot of people were basically saying, "Hey, are the foot plates removable?" And so of course I asked the follow-up question. Well, yeah, but why do you care? And they said, "Well, I just want to scoot with my feet." So that was an easy one to make. An easy decision to make. But yeah, it's the customer. I often say that these products were designed by the end users. And,
cool.
Yeah. And those are the best products, right?
Right.
So Nate, you haven't been doing this all that long, really. How long have you been in this part of your career?
I've been doing this part full-time for 5 years.
Okay.
Troy Technologies has been around a little longer than that, but certainly the daily living chairs are about 5 years old. And
so cool.
There's still a lot of room for growth. There's new products on the drawing board, and looking to expand the product line. And the customer feedback has been really overwhelmingly positive.
Can I kind of take us down I want to kind of shift tangent real quick. How about walkers? Have you ever looked at a walker design at all or anything like that? Because
not seriously.
Okay.
I'm certainly open to it.
The reason I'm asking is I work with a lot of older adults that, have some form of cognitive impairment, or they're just really poor posture, mechanics, and things like that.
Right.
And a lot of it is the design of the walker, not necessarily, their use of it. I've always been intrigued by how, this is great to see, is that I felt like we've always been stuck kind of in the 50s and 60s, right? Where we've just using the same tech that was developed back then, but now, you're challenging that stigma, that theory around wheelchairs. And I just figured I'd throw it out there, about
I appreciate that. And we've looked at walkers. The last thing I want to do is just bring on another Me Too product.
I gotcha. I know. Yeah, I know.
So we're if as soon as a design concept arrives that is unique,
Right.
solves a specific purpose, then we'll probably look into it further.
Cool. No, that's very cool.
Yeah.
So at Mavericks, we're all about innovation. And I see this as a pretty big innovation in terms of wheelchairs. And as you stated just a moment ago, there's a lot of opportunity for innovation in other medical products. Part of what your goal here, as I understand it, is to help people be able to stay home a little bit longer if possible. If this is a way for them to be able to navigate through their house so they can stay home a little bit longer.
Right.
And that's something that Francis and I advocate for, definitely staying home as long as it makes sense for your health.
Mhm.
And that you have the proper care levels at home that you can get. So I think this is really great. What moved you to begin doing this 5 years ago?
It was again speaking with customers who were looking at. So we do have some of the travel wheelchairs, and it was basically customers saying, "Well, how wide is it? How wide is it? I need to get it through my bathroom door." And you hear that enough times and you think, oh, well, maybe there's a market here. So we just began to investigate ways, and I did a lot of research. Nothing really is out there that was narrow enough. So the next logical step was, well, it's time to start designing something that does fit that need. So it was just customer feedback.
And noticing a need in a market.
Yeah, filling the need, right.
Have you gotten much, I want to ask this have you gotten much pushback from those traditional theorists around wheelchairs? Like, are you getting any resistance in as you challenge what I think is an amazing opportunity for you? Like, are you getting any pushback from, oh, well, you can't do that with a wheelchair, or you shouldn't do that type thing?
No, actually,
that's awesome. No, that's great.
It's overwhelmingly positive.
No, that's awesome, because that's where I want us to get to. Is this is so positive what you're doing? You're giving people options and choices and control.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
and I see it as a bit of an evolution of the wheelchair. So recognizing that what was put in place, as we talk about here on the Mavericks frequently, every system is designed to get the results it gets, and the wheelchairs that are your standard sort of typical wheelchair were designed many, many years ago, and things have changed. Houses have changed. People have changed. The way we live our life has changed. Travel has changed.
Yeah.
So really, really good for you. Glad to hear that you're doing this. Love being able to show this to our audience.
Absolutely. And I want to go back, though. This has really hit me when we were kind of talking pre-show. Was you have 3 great points, but 2 really pop. This empowering people to age on their own terms. Like, that aligns so well with, Catherine and I's philosophy of you just need the resources to at least make an educated decision. And I love what you're doing in regards to that.
Great. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. It's not only aging. Some of our clientele are veterans with, they have a prosthetic limb, and while they're active people, and if they put on their limbs on, and they're fine, but in the middle of the night, if they have to get up and use the restroom, you got an issue. Yeah. I've also had a couple clients who were on medication that causes them to be dizzy. So, they'll take their medication, and then they'll sit and then they'll make sure that they don't really, they're fall hazards.
Right.
So they use the chair in that regard. So it's a wider audience than just the aging community. There's
for sure. Yeah.
You asked me earlier about what exactly is limited mobility, and it's all of these things. It's balance issues. It's missing limbs. And aging, obviously. So.
Well, yeah, but going back to that's a great statement, because as Catherine and I have said on many of our shows, we're all aging every day, right? I mean, we are. It's it doesn't matter if you're 10 or 20 or 40 or 50 or 80 or 100, right? And what I think your mission aligns close with us is, we just want people to be optimistic about getting older.
Yeah,
because that's what I want. I don't want someone to come to me and say, I'm scared to get old, or I'm fearful of aging, because I think there's a lot of beauty and honor and wisdom that comes with as we age that we need to respect and celebrate.
Yeah,
so I think with what you're doing here is really cool. And I kind of wanted to ask this though. You have something in here that I didn't think much about until I read it a couple of times, was the effects of loneliness and depression, right?
Oh yeah, huge, right.
That has mobility issues. That's you're right.
Right. It's cascading. Once you have limited mobility, you don't do very much. You don't leave the house very often, and suddenly your friendships begin to dry up, and it can become a very lonely, depressing, downward spiral. So that's another one of the things that we're trying to prevent here with these solutions we're coming up with.
Well, preventing loneliness and isolation is a multi-pronged approach, and this is really an important part of that for someone who has lack of mobility.
Right.
So well done. So would you tell us a little bit about, we always ask our guests, who do you consider someone in your life to be a maverick?
Wow. I have to reflect. Probably my father was a huge influence on me. Still is. He's still going.
That's good.
He immigrated here. He's from England and didn't have very much money, or even didn't really have a very impressive education. And it's kind of the American dream. He came here and he applied himself, and he educated himself, and he started a business, and it's kind of a rags to riches story of an immigrant coming to America. And it was really an impressive backstory. I could talk about it for the full hour here, but
I'm sure you could. And that's wonderful, because that really takes so much bravery and courage to just pick up and move your family to another country, and then dive in and build a business. Building a business all by itself is hard. Doing it in a foreign country has got to be even harder. And so it sounds like we can all hear where you got your tenacity from. Yes. Love it. Keep blazing.
Is your dad, just on another personal, is your dad still in the States, or is he?
He is. He lives only pretty close to me, and he's retired now.
Okay.
He and my mom are frankly they're aging in place.
That's awesome. Love it. That's great. No, that's awesome.
Love it.
Yeah,
that's great.
Good for them. So one of the things that we do towards the end of our podcasts is to ask you what action you would like people to take from after hearing this.
I suppose I'm glad that I have the opportunity to promote the product and the company. People should educate themselves. I would say there's new stuff happening all the time, new stuff being developed, and don't just say, oh well, mom's getting old, let's throw her in a home. There's lots of other options. So I would. To answer your question, people have got to educate themselves, and now we've got the internet. So how easy? It's never been easier to do so.
Right.
True, and be aware of what you read on the internet. Make sure you verify it, right? But yes, it does give you exposure to a lot of places to get wide research on things. So your action call to our listeners is educate yourself. Look at what options are out there, and don't just assume that what you have heard all your life is true, because new things are coming out all the time. So I'm just going to add to that I'm going to add to Nate's call to action and say, let's start looking at how we can eliminate the stigma for people who are in wheelchairs. They're human beings. We're all human beings. It could be any one of us, and it may be someday. So let's eliminate that stigma and think about this as opportunities to help people thrive, grow and thrive in their own lives. So
love it. Yeah. Perfect.
Beautiful thing. So, Nate, where could people find you if they want to learn more about this?
All information is on the website at travelwheelchair.net.
We got it down at the bottom of the screen here
There
for
it
you.
is. Yeah, by all means. Yeah, and on Facebook as well. So yeah, drop us a line if you got an idea, if you got a comment. We're always eager to learn and listen, and maybe your comment will spark a whole new product line.
Yeah,
that's right. You never know. You never know.
And thousands of people, right?
Right. And I think, Nate, early on, you said that your background is in medical manufacturing design.
That's right.
Was that correct? Okay. I want to make sure I got the words right. So any of our audience out there, if you have ideas for medical durable equipment, sounds like Nate is a person to bounce that idea off of.
And I want to kind of dive a little deeper too, real quick. What was your education background? Was it like engineering or design work, or how did you kind of get into this medical field here?
It was engineering, and then as I began my career in the pediatric wheelchair company, it was just experience and working with engineers and the design and the manufacturing of all of that.
Very cool. And the reason I bring that up is we talk to college students a lot, and they ask, how can, what is aging services? And I just kind of wanted to use that as anybody with, don't limit yourself by, you don't necessarily need to be a frontline worker, or you don't necessarily need to be a doctor or a nurse. You can have a positive impact on healthcare with an engineering degree or manufacturing stuff. And that's really kind of why I kind of wanted to go down that little tangent, because I want people to look at, aging services or even this healthcare, as we need more creative people in it. We need to push the envelope. We just don't need everybody to go build the next greatest app, which I'm not saying you shouldn't do, but we need people like you that are like, wait a second, I think I can design and figure this out a little differently and use my skill set. So I kind of wanted to push that out there, because we, a big push for us has always been get more creative people that are not from, the aging industry to start stepping into it, because it's a great opportunity and you have such a positive impact.
Thanks.
So kudos to what you're doing. So really appreciate it. And
thanks so much for joining us today, Nate. We appreciate it. And we'll look forward to hearing how things go.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
All right. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Stay tuned for our guest next week coming up. It'll be fantastic. Thursday, same time, same place as always. And don't forget, if you are interested in participating in our collaboration circles, go check out our website. This is where we bring different-minded people together to sit down at a virtual table and create solutions.
Well said. Well said. Until next Thursday, have a great rest of your week. And again, happy 2021.